I'm doing these indies and all of a sudden I get pulled into this world. I had stuff that was with bands, but I had to convince them I can do the orchestral thing.
When did you first know that music was in you and that this was your calling and going to be your life?
Ooh, I don't remember a time where it wasn't a huge deal, because the thing that I can remember is around the holidays, anytime that Christmas would come up, it would always be, I remember begging for a hi-hat for my drum kit. And that's my earliest memory practically of almost anything. I probably was 4 or something. And I wanted a hi-hat. The drum set,
I'm sure your parents love that.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I don't think they intended that, to have someone that would make so much noise. But my parents were music lovers. The first record I remember ever hearing was in the Court of the Crimson King.
Was your family in the film business?
Yes. So not my immediate family. My grandfather was an art director. So when I was a little kid, I grew up seeing my dad was an artist, architect, learned to draw. I was doing music, and then I learned about lenses and cutting film from my grandfather, who and storyboarding and all those things that he would do. I didn't realize it at the time, but it's here you have all the ingredients for the stew of film composer. I just didn't know it. Yeah.
How did your film scoring career evolve? Because I remember when you were doing, basically indie films that were premiering at Sundance.
Right.
And then slowly there was one film that was a turning point, maybe?
Starting with indies, which I still love doing indies. One, I was doing a lot of kind of art installation, weird classical music at the same time playing in bands when I started scoring films. So that was my world. And this movie, Six String Samurai, came along, which was really bizarre and kind of was a hybrid of rockabilly, Russian traditional choirs, and Egyptian music. It was the weirdest combo ever, but it was fun. And I got to play all the instruments myself, and we had zero budget, and that's how I did all those movies at the beginning. Then there was a indie that I did called Frailty, which was a really dark film. It was almost my nod to the Bernard Herrmann side of me, very much so, musically, that influence. But it was relentlessly dark and chamber music, and that movie got some notice critically, but really what hit for me, which really helped, was William Friedkin, the great director, saw it in the theater, and he called the next day. It's just like, I'm doing this film over at Paramount. It's called The Hunted, and and we love your music. It's like, who's we? And there's, Sherry Lansing. He's married to Sherry Lansing, who's the president of Paramount. And so I'm doing these indies, and all of a sudden I get pulled into this world, and now it's conducting in LA with an orchestra at Sony.
What's your creative process when you sit down to score a movie or anything? Where do you go?
I guess it would be closer to impressionist, where I look at a painting, or I look at film, or I read a book. I think it's just that's how I've always done it, in terms of something's going to inspire me to write. I don't really sit there at the blank page and just say, I'm going to write a piece of music. It's just not, and I think that's why I compose film. Of the two kinds of composition, I guess, finding something by kind of messing about, or I'm a little the other way. I'm more of a kind of deconstructionist. Like I hear something and I'm actually searching to try to pick it out, or I hear a tonality and I think, gosh, I think would that be good on the cellos, or how should they play sul ponticello? I don't know. All of those things are the thinking, but the musical inspiration is more kind of trying to find it from it comes from somewhere.
When it's a film, do you tend to work in a linear way, where you start at the beginning and work your way to the end, or do you trigger off of characters and create themes, or a central arc to the story, or is there a pattern for you?
Yeah, there is a pattern that's emerged, I think, unintentionally. But typically, what I'll do is I'll watch the film and I'll get the overall tonal vibe, and I will write a theme, and often I will go on a massive tangent. often I'll end up writing 20 minutes of just music that may or may not have anything to do with it at the end of the day. But it's to me, it's a process of just getting it out and kind of
and you can take bits
vibing.
and trigger off that. Okay. Who is Mad Sonic?
Who is that guy? So Mad Sonic has kind of turned into a music project that is separated from my film work. And it kind of happened unintentionally. I was writing a song, Shell Shocked, and Wiz Khalifa and Juicy J and Ty Dolla $ign. We got to the end of it, we're like, I think we have something here. We didn't even know what it would be used or what, but it ended up being, oh gosh, this is gonna be a song with a video. But to go back to the Mad Sonic thing, it was just, it was one of those things we thought, okay, it's gonna have a series of names as Shell Shocked by Brian Tyler, Wiz Khalifa, Juicy J. Like, it just didn't, my name, like, it just seemed strange. And also, it was confusing because I scored the film Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Right. So it was like, we needed some kind of separation of when I write songs, it's this other entity, it has nothing to do with film composing, it's a completely different thing. And also, just like Wiz Khalifa and Kill the Noise and all them, they all had these cool names.
Right.
And they're like, well, you can't use a normal name. So it was just created. And before I knew it, I was doing collaboration songs with Kill the Noise on his record, and then I was doing a Mad Sonic track that was the theme of another movie. And then all of a sudden, people were asking for Mad Sonic tracks that had nothing to do with things I was scoring. And all of a sudden, I saw this online presence of people following Mad Sonic, having no idea I composed films. And then I ended up on tour this year, and we went all...
So, of course, you went to London and then conducted an orchestra full of film music.
Yes.
How did you get into that?
When I was back at Abbey Road, I was conducting the Philharmonia out there. And, oh, yes, the director of the Philharmonia came up to me and said, you know, next year, I think I was doing Avengers too. Next year, we would love to have you out here at the Royal Festival Hall, and we can have a concert of your music, and you can do all your films. And I was like, okay, that sounds great. I quickly looked up the hall on Google and was absolutely terrified and kind of stalled because I thought, wait, am I opening for someone? Is John Williams going to be there? Because that place is gigantic. No, we're going to have it, you know, it's be like a 60-person choir or 70-person with a 90-piece orchestra and a band. Like, wait, so it's gonna be like 150 people on stage and me and lights and the stage show and the thing. And anyway, I had to be convinced just because I was worried that they would go to all this trouble. I thought maybe the director was just like, happened to really love my film scores and we'd have this concert and there'd be 12 people in the audience or something.
It sold out, didn't it?
Yeah, it sold out. And it was beautiful, and I got to do a few hours of music, kind of go through the catalog of kind of the thing. I went online and asked people what they wanted to hear. You know, what's your favorites? It was interesting doing, you know, the London concert, and again, it keeps it interesting. I love conducting these concerts, and then I would go do a show where it would be an electronic show a couple nights later. Completely different crowd, different thing. But the thing I really love now, I see at both the Mad Sonic shows, people come up to me afterwards that are film score lovers that say, you've introduced me to a completely different thing here. Yeah. I just came because I'm a fan of your film music. So
if you had a piece of advice to give to a developing composer, what would you tell that person? Well,
film composers specifically would be probably a different set of advice. I think that make sure that you really cover your genres. I think all music is informative. Jazz can help your classical writing. Rock can help your jazz writing. Classical can help your, you know, everything helps each other. And if you're a film composer specifically, make sure that you don't forget about half of your name, film. Mm.
I love that point.
Really study film. When you sit down, the direct person you're going to be working with, the director, they speak film. They typically don't speak music. They're going to talk to you about shots and angles and tones that are related to film. So we're in a great era for being able to learn about how film's done. You can literally watch the making of on any documentary of any film, and it's very informative. Just watching interviews with directors, the way they talk, the way they see film, study it, try shooting some of your own things, try editing, learn lenses, learn how lighting's done.
Did you do that?
Yeah. It was just something I wanted to do, but I found that it was really, really useful because, again, when you're sitting down with a director and he's describing something and something will fly by, what you need to do is hit the rack focus. But just a simple thing. Everyone knows what rack focus is pretty much, or on the dolly or the push-in or these things, all these kinds of things, if you instinctively are writing, even before you sit down with them and you pay attention to, okay, there's no music here, but the camera is pushing in on this shot, that means something's happening. What does that evoke? And so music, I find, often moves in the same direction as camera moves. Pull back, wide shot, wide music, longer octaves. Push in, pull down the music, drop the lower octave, drop the top octave. There's a visual component to, I think, writing film music.
What have you learned about the film and TV industry through your relationship with BMI?
I have learned that because of the way films and music are tied together forever, that the work that you do on a film isn't done when you put down the baton. It lives on, and how that music is used and how they use your music is something that it's kind of like sending your kids off to school or something. It's still related to you, but it kind of takes on a life of its own. And BMI has the ability to make sure that those kids are taken care of. And that when you see, gosh, there's something that I wrote 15 years ago, and I see that it is playing on some TV show, the fact that BMI is there saying, hey, by the way, this is written music, it is a performance of a piece of art, and we're standing up for it. That has not only been great as a musician to see that directly affect my life, but that it places importance on what music is to the moving picture, be it television or film. If it wasn't for that, I think we as composers wouldn't be given the same latitude and be considered actual filmmakers. I think it would be something that would be slapped on and kind of forgotten. And BMI has always been there to stand up for the written note. And that means a lot.